In this video, we'll be covering the organization settings. You can access the organization settings by selecting the organization on the left and then clicking the settings button in the top right corner. Alternatively, you can hover over an organization and click the little drop-down arrow to the right, then choose settings from the list at the bottom. The settings are organized in a series of tabs that categorize the different options you have for an organization. On the General tab, you can see what the organization's parent is. You can change the organization name, you can modify the description for the organization, and you can set a contact email for the organization. Additionally, you can set a custom host name for the organization, although by default, it will use the host name that is specified for the entire system. On the Policies tab, you can set policies for how users can interact with files and for which files are allowed in the system. For example, you can set policies for how large of files you will accept in the system. In this case, no files greater than 300 megabytes will be allowed to be uploaded. And you can choose which extensions you would like excluded from upload. This is a comma-separated list that lets you specify which extensions you want to prevent from being uploaded. Note that these policies are enforced on all interfaces, including mobile devices, desktops, and from the web. From the folder backup settings, you can choose whether or not you want to allow users to create their own backups, and whether or not you want to allow users to share their own files with third parties. If you disable these tabs, these features will become unavailable from all interfaces. The file trim settings allows you to manage how revisions are handled within the system. You can choose to allow users to erase their own revisions, which essentially allows them to delete all of the incremental changes that are made to a file. For example, if you modify a file 3 times, you will have 1, the most current revision, and 2 and 3, the previous revisions. Trimming revisions allows users to delete the second and third revision. You can also choose to allow the system to auto-erase revisions on an interval. This is an intelligent erasure in that it only erases revisions for files unchanged in the interval that you specify. In this case, we would only delete revisions 2 and 3 if the file itself had not been changed in 60 days. The assumption being that revision 1, or the most current revision, is the one that the users want to keep. From the file purge settings, you can choose to allow users to erase deleted files. This means that files that are deleted but not permanently deleted or purged can be erased by users. In the system, any file that is deleted via a mobile device, a desktop client, or the web needs to be permanently deleted in order to be fully erased from the system. This option allows users to execute the permanent delete. You can also choose to permanently delete files that have already been deleted by checking this option, and choose to delete those files on a specified interval. You can also set to throttle bandwidth for an organization. The first field allows you to throttle bandwidth outright. The second option allows you to throttle bandwidth on a schedule. In this case, it would set an exception, where it would use the first option except for on the days or time period that you specify. In the email field, you have the ability to configure your own email server. This email server will then subsequently be used for any account invitation emails, any reset password emails, any alerts, and any share emails. By default, the system provides an email server that you can use. We recommend for long-term use that you configure your own email server. The Authentication tab allows you to configure an AD, Active Directory, or LDAP source with which you can import and authenticate users. There are 2 methods for using an authentication source. The first is to connect to the authentication source directly by selecting the Use Server method and specifying the host, domain, login, and password. The second, especially if the AD server or LDAP server is behind a firewall or a protected environment, is to install one of the sync clients onto the AD server or LDAP server, then choose the sync client from this dropdown and specify your host, domain, login, and password subsequently. This way, the system will be able to communicate with the sync client behind the firewall, and the sync client will proxy all of the AD and LDAP credentials over a secure port in an encrypted manner. The PSA tab allows you to configure a professional services automation tool to push tickets and activity to the PSA tool of your choice. The Branding tab allows you to customize the look and feel of the system and of the clients. You can choose to specify your own logo, which will appear in the top left corner. You can choose to specify a custom splash screen, which will appear every time a user logs into their mobile app. You can choose to specify a custom icon, which will change the favorite icon on the website and also change the icon for the desktop client. And you can choose to specify your company name, company URL, and even the program name and folder name of the desktop client when it's installed. The delete option allows you to delete an organization. For obvious reasons, you can't delete an organization that you're a member of. However, for organizations that you're not a member of, you can delete them, but you will be prompted in the case that there are users or data that exist within the organization. That about covers it for the organization settings.